street, don't knock on my door. Don't want you no more. You broke me, and I don't wanna see you, and I don't wanna see you again. No, just trying, oh, to deny the fact that there's never lasting. I played the game but lost the bet. I don't wanna love again, and I don't wanna love again. Cause I'll be living with regret.
'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? Now you're dealing in diamonds, don't you see that I'm shining? 'Cause when you let me, baby, you are getting everything. Now you're dealing in diamonds, don't you see that I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, you are getting everything. 'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when you let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining? 'Cause when I let me, baby, don't you see I'm shining?
When you feel the world is over, when you say you're feeling lonely, if you ever need a shoulder, you...
Alrighty, let's get this thing started. Good evening, everybody. I guess we'll just go straight to here. Thanks for everybody who's stopping in right now. This weekend was a 2-day 4-round RTT from Warpstorm's RTT series, and got a second place finish, taking my custodies. So we're going to start off just doing a quick list breakdown of what I took, why I took it, and all that other kind of fun stuff. I think I awkwardly have to... Oh, I can't even do what I want to do. Alright, so I'm going to end up cutting, I think, a little bit off when I scroll through. Yeah, I guess I just kind of cut off what the name of the extra stuff is. So overall with the list, I guess before I get into this, just kind of do a quick brief overview before I really go into what like each thing has and why I took it. So as you can see, HQ slots, I did go Emperor's Chosen for my shield host. Shield Bike Captain with Superior Creation, Radiant Mantle, and Salvo Launchers, along with the Tip of the Spear upgrade. Trajan, 3 boys with spears, 2 one individual custodian Terminators, Alaris Custodians, a 3x5 bricks of the Wardens, a Praetor with the Dense Banner and Presidium Shield, and then 2x3 bikes with the Salvo Launchers as well. So now a little bit more of the breakdown view to kind of explain what all that does. So with the bike captain, gave him the so he's got the built-in auto-advancing bike thing where you can auto-advance 6, so therefore he has a 20-inch threat range for movement. He has a core reroll of 1s, and the Radiant Mantle upgrade gives him -1 to hit. The Superior Creation upgrade gives him a 5 up Feel No Pain. And then Tip of the Spear makes it where every single time he attacks, if he made a charge or performed a heroic, he gets to reroll all his 1s. So effectively what that does, I mean, this is pretty standard for most Custody players. I know a lot of individuals like taking the... I don't remember if it's the Warlord trait or the Relic, but it's like every time he kills a dude, he can make additional attacks up to, I think, an additional 3 or 4 times. Hilariously enough, this tournament, I would have definitely loved to have that, but I typically prefer to make him this way. He's a little bit more durable. A lot of people have actually bounced off of him at this tournament when they charged into him, purely because of the -1 to hit. I'm kind of against the, the tide on that one, a little bit against the grain when it comes to that. But that's just the way I like playing him. I typically use him as that very turn 1, turn 2 missile if my opponent kind of gives me something. He's a great character killer. As long as the character isn't like typically a named character, he'll kind of struggle unless he's in Shadowkeepers. So that's kind of the difference between this Shield Bike Captain and other Shield Bike Captains. If you do in like Shadowkeepers, I should say. Because Shadowkeepers, Shield Bike Captain, you pretty much just want him to kill the number 1 character your opponent likes to abuse. This one is more for like the weaker buffing guys or the weaker guys that just kind of like try to hold objectives as other things go forward, and that's typically how you want to play them. So usual stuff, Salvo Launchers just for the packing power. The packing power there. Well, I'm glad that became irrelevant because I thought it was strength 9. Good thing is I didn't shoot at anything toughness 8 this tournament, so only messed up in one of my test games. So that's something on me. I'm glad I cut that now, but it didn't change anything in the actual tournament, which is good to know because I would have felt really bad. But everything I shot at was toughness 7, so I went on 3s anyways. So there's never a moment that I wasn't shooting at 3s, so it's or 2s or 3s when I shouldn't have. But I will need to remember that in the future. It's been a while since I've used bikes playing Custodies. Trajan is Trajan. Just a quick rundown of Trajan. I mean, every Custodian player should be playing this guy. I don't know why you wouldn't. You'd have to really have a super solid argument of why you wouldn't play him. But regardless, Trajan has a 5-up Feel No Pain. He can heroic 6 inches. And yeah, he can move up to 6 instead of the 3. And then whenever he attacks, he can reroll the full hit roll, something I didn't realize for a very long time. I only thought it was in melee. Granted, in shooting, it's not like the greatest thing, but rerolling the hit roll is just nice to have at all times. Huge buff from him, and why, again, I don't know why you wouldn't just take him, period. He gives your army, pretty much your army as Custodes, rerolls of 1 to hit and wound within 6 inches, because pretty much everything in the book is core. And then the Master Martial Strategy, when you spend a CP on a 5-up, you get it back. And then once per battle, you can decide to reorganize your kata stances you chose for the game. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. And then the good old classic Moment Shackle that allows you to fight again, fight first, or if you fail a save, the damage characteristic of the attack becomes 0. So it's a nice thing to kind of combo if people try to be really aggressive with them. You know, just gives them a lot of survivability. I went with the spears mainly just based on points. I wanted some type of backline holder, and they're the best thing for it. I would prefer, obviously, to have the sword and board guys for the +1 to save. But realistically speaking, it's a custody troop unit. You know, they have one goal and one goal only. Chill on the home objective and don't do anything else. Took 1 unit of Custodian Terminators, the Allure's Custodians. Reason being is for behind enemy lines. They're just a super easy model to get in there because it's a 40 millimeter base that people have to try to figure out what to do. Other than that, it's just a very easy 4 points, or like 3 and 3 on turn 2 and 3, so you don't have to really feel super dedicated to fly your whole army up the board. I, uniquely enough, I'll show with the Wardens as well. I swapped completely to axes over spears. Main reason being is the axes are strength 8 for Custodes, and in our area, guard is very prevalent. So with the combination of Slayers of Nightmares and or Rendax, you can be almost guaranteed to be 2s into 3s or 2s into 2s. If you're in Rendax, because Rendax gives you the +1 strength in melee. So you go to strength 9, so you're at 3s, then you Slayers of Nightmare, you get +1 to wound, making it 2s. So that was the main reason why I did it. I wanted to deal with the aggression of guard and dealing with Leman Russes, because bikes can only go so far. So yeah, 2 1-mans there, then the 3 5-mana Wardens, and like I said, went with the axes over the spears. The only game it really mattered that it sucked to have the axes over the spears was the Black Templar matchup. Besides that, the axes felt great all tournament long. A lot of 2s into 2s, which is what I want to be doing. And the reason why the Wardens over anything else, just because like most other Custodes in the competitive meta right now, is they're super strong. They've got OPSEC back. They have a 6-up Feel No Pain. It's just 15 wounds you got to go through. That's a 2-up, 5-up, 6-up, and they're very durable. They're super awesome. The Watchman ability, I guess, somewhat matters. I think it only came into play once, but it's more for the fact that they're just a super durable unit, and they get 20 attacks. So a 5-man times 4 of these, and they also get the 5 Misericordia. So it's just a bucket of dice and attacks as well. Whereas, again, you're putting 2s into 2s almost all the time. And then the Praetor, I gave him Castellan's Mark, which gives you the 2-unit redeploy. I feel like this, you could probably go with or without this. This just kind of lets you play a little cheekily, kind of lets you deploy aggressively or passively, and kind of get you in a position where you might be able to force your opponent to make bad decisions with how you deploy if they don't realize it. Granted, you should be telling your opponent that that's the case, that you do have a redeploy, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's a nice tool to have in your belt. The Presidium Shield I went with over any weapon melee profile because his goal isn't really to fight. His goal is to kind of just sit in the middle of the pile and provide the banner. And what I went with the banner is the dense banner. So dense cover if you're within 6 inches of him. And again, it's just because in our meta, especially, and I should say the meta overall, is super, super shooty. So just being able to apply dense cover, it's a lot easier for armies to ignore light cover than dense cover. And that's why I went with the dense cover banner, because especially light cover as well, most guns are like AP3 nowadays right now. It's really weird. It's like AP2s, AP3s anyways. So the light cover may not matter. And those armies that are shooting those guns typically will have a way to ignore it. And then the MVPs of the weekend, 1,000%, are the bikes. The only thing special about them is their lances, which is the same thing as the bike captain. If they charge or heroic, they get +1 to wound. So they're strength 7, AP3, 2 damage a pop. They're just a super solid thing. They're toughness 6, 5 wounds apiece. I mean, they're just phenomenal units. Anti-tank salvo launchers, -4, D3 +3. It really did a lot of work for me this weekend. And I ran 2 of them. Built the same way. So yeah, overall that's the reason why I went with the things I did. Also with the Praetors, it kind of helps with like late game behind enemy lines. You know, once you get to that turn 3, turn 4, to kind of get those 2 units guaranteed for the rest of the game if they're still alive. So that's pretty much why I went with why I did. So now we can go ahead and get into round 1, which I have a picture of round 1, which is this one. So round 1, I got paired up against Tyranids. Against this opponent, he was a new-ish player, I believe, after having some conversations, but we were playing on Mission 11, which I believe is Recover the Relics. Neither one of us had any kind of pregame moves or anything like that, so we didn't get like first turn CPs or anything like that. Kata stances I went with this game was Rendax, Conservi, and Salvis. Reason being is I didn't anticipate him to be aggressive, especially being a newer player and never facing Custodes. I wouldn't have assumed that he wanted to be aggressive. I kind of figured he'd just try to like see what I did and try to play around it later. Because typically what I've noticed with like newer players, they kind of like to play a little bit more sheltered and just kind of play to kill things and just make sure that they don't get killed. So that was the concept of why I took Salvis. Hindsight being 2020, I forgot that the Termagants poop out 10 man of the Termagants. And he also had 60 plus 10 or plus 20. So he had 80 Termagants on the table at one point, which I totally goofed up on. I should have, instead of having Salvis, taken Dakatari, regardless of the situation, because I ended up spending 3 or 4 CP throughout the game to put a unit into Dakatari to deal with the just gaunts, the massive amount of gaunts that he had. But overall, the game kind of went according to plan. Turn. So for me, I always deep strike the Terminators every round. So I'm just going to kind of say that now. Just assume they're always in deep strike. So he got top of turn, and he just kind of, shifted things forward, got them to where they wanted to be. Yeah, this was pretty much it. So, like, that's where things were. He left all of this back at home, didn't really move any of it. Which is fair. It was just, like, kind of shifting them around. Secondaries that he took Assassination, behind enemy lines, and Banners. I took Banners behind enemy lines and Bring It Down, just because it was like 13 points on Bring It Down. I think it was like 3-3. No, it was 3-3, 2-2, and then 2, something like that. It might have been more 3s. Yeah, it might be 3-3-3 and then 2-2, something like that. It was a decent amount of points. Also, having Rendex in my arsenal is also super great for that. So yeah, turn 1, that was his movement, kind of positioned, Gaunts to hold this, raised a whole bunch of banners, did some psychic stuff, etc., etc. My turn 1, I pretty much got all the bikes in here, in the building, nice and hidden there. Trajan was like in the middle of the pile as well. Wardens tucked into here. Wardens just kind of, stayed off of the terrain, but got onto this objective. I raised my 3 banners and effectively passed a turn. His turn 2, he decided to go into the synapse for the 4-ups for the monsters and 5-up invulns for the little guys. Which I don't know why I forgot about it, but I totally forgot about it as we were playing. So he again just kind of like shifted things forward. He kind of like extended the front line to like here. And then that's kind of when I had like my oh shit moment, because I forgot that these things are OBSEC. And I was like, oh, well, if he just puts like especially on this objective marker over here, like I was really worried about this one because I had so much exposed space here. I was like, if he just like charges me on here, I don't know if I'm ever going to take this objective marker back. So I started to like have a minor panic attack about that. I was like, I don't really have a game plan for over here, and I don't want to be charging this turn into gaunts. So I felt like the situation needed to be answered by applying pressure this way. So I knew that I couldn't lose this objective marker, but based on the fact that like after his movement, like I said, the gaunts were pretty much where that line is, and then he put like the Maliceptor here, the Tervagon here, and this all stayed pretty much where it is. But I felt like if I just applied pressure to this flank, I might be able to like cause that that effect of him seeing so many threats come this way that he has to answer and divert his focus back this direction. So like even if the gaunts like stood still and just shot, I didn't want them to go forward. Like if they go this way, I'm kind of screwed. Especially because of his 3 deep strikes here, as you can see, just all came in and like forced me to have to start dedicating forces and like things backwards. So that was like my biggest fear, was him realizing my left flank, his right flank, this top side, was just super weak to just gaunts running at me. So that was my plan. So after he got that, this battle line established here, I was like, all right, I'm going to move the wardens I have behind the containers, and I'm going to basically line them up against these containers so he can't physically touch this objective marker, so I can at least secure 8 points a turn no matter what happens. That's the goal. And then, you know what, if I can just chip this thing down, maybe with out of a 30-man brick between, shooting, charging, and everything else, I might be able to get them dead, or at least low enough where the resurrection from the Tervagon isn't super impactful. And the plan somewhat worked. I took them down to, I think, like 12 off of shooting and charging. I did deep strike both Terminators pretty much like behind this container over here. They did some pop shots into some stuff over here. Didn't really do anything. I was able to kill the Ripper Swarm and the Lictor, but not the thing that poops out the Ripper Swarms. On that following turn, so that was kind of he kind of got a lot of points behind enemy lines just because a lot of things lived at 1 for a while, and it was kind of disappointing. But I got back there. I scored my 8. I charged 1 Terminator into the Tervagon because she was like right here, I think. Yeah, that's where he put her. So I charged it, got into it, and just kind of was like, all right, as long as he doesn't die, I can just wrap this thing in combat for a turn. And I didn't also want to go forward because, again, the 5-up invulns and 4-up invulns and the big monsters, I just didn't want dice to dictate the pace of the game, especially because I was scoring so well already. 3 on banners, the 4 on behind enemy lines, and I know that turn 3, I can just go into Rendax, pop the once per game, get double effects from Rendax, and I can just delete all the big bugs and just get them all dead. In between the shooting of the bikes and the charging of the bikes, it shouldn't be a problem. So that's pretty much, that's exactly what happened turn 3. He put all the, except for this Tervagon here, she was like here. But otherwise, that following turn, it was just like all the bugs were here. All the big bugs were like in this box. And he shot at some wardens after they cleaned up like what was over here, shot some wardens, I think killed 1. The Moloch popped up. We fought for like 2 or 3 turns. pretty much bounced off each other. I think I finally killed at turn 5. But yeah, that was pretty much how the backfield ended up. But turn 3 was this entire pocket just went forward. So everybody came out. I made all the charges. The shooting went super well. I killed, what was it? Maliceptor died. Exocrine died. This got down to like 4 HP. I didn't do anything to this because I was still trying to like fight over this objective marker, because now I've cleaned up the initial 30-man gaunts and there's only a 10-man there. So now my new goal was like, all right, cool, let's strip this off, get rid of banners, etc. Turn 4, I was able to finally clean up this Turbogon and then kill the character Neurothrope, Zonothrope, whatever one it is, and took away that objective, took away that banner, and won the game. I believe it was like an 88. I have the scores here. One moment. 87-66. So again, pretty much according to plan. Things, yeah. So the hindsight, the notable things from this game. Number one is just recognizing that he may have used the invulns a little too early. It's kind of a hard call though, because like knowing that the bikes can just move 14, and that puts the it put like this bike unit about right here. This bike unit was like here, I think. So knowing that, you kind of have to go into the invulns turn 3. You don't really have any other option. So yeah, it's just like a hard call. Because if he didn't do that turn 3, then I make this play turn 3, and at that point, he would have gone into the invulns, and it only would have been for the gaunts. Like, this would have been the only thing. Actually, I probably just killed this brick of gaunts without the 5-up invuln on turn 2. Because he saved a decent amount on the 5-ups. So yeah, so he might not even have this brick if he wasn't in the invulns. So it's hard to say. But yeah, my big blunder was not just recognizing I needed Dakatari in my pool of katas. So at some point the entire army could be into it instead of just this one warden unit for 4 turns or 3 turns. So that was like a big, the big learning point there was just not having the hindsight of realizing, oh, he has a boatload of 1 wound gaunts. I need to have a million attacks. But besides that, pretty much, I mean, that's why I put the big wall here. He had decent shooting, or just like high volume shooting. They weren't like super potent shots, but they're just high volume. I just didn't want things to die to chip damage. So yeah, round 1 went according to plan and got the W there. And I was saying the entire time, the last thing I want to face is Dark Angels, because there was a Dark Angels player and an Iron Hands player there. And to the unfortunateness of my luck, as you can see by this picture, I'll show it from my angle, I got Dark Angels. Unfortunately, this is after he pretty much conceded the game. So I can't really... deployment was... I mean, you can at least see the terrain. I can kind of go over where things were. This is the game I really want to break down, because I know a lot of people were asking how this game went. And what was my strategy? How did I get there? And like, how did it pan out that it went so well for me? I will not initially lie. Luck was a huge part of it. A huge part of it. I would like to say that my idea was correct, but if dice went the other direction, I would look like an idiot, and I would have been the one conceding on turn 3. But yeah, let's just get back to it. So for deployment, I got top of turn, I got top turn, which I desperately wanted in this matchup. I desperately wanted top of turn. Because, as I said before, I didn't have a game plan against him. I didn't know what to do. Because he had the 2 10-mans of Terminators and then a whole bunch of Raven Wing speeders, I didn't know what to do. I knew my bikes were going to have to carry me through shooting, hopefully pick up a land speeder through shooting between the 7 salvos I have available, and then just hope I make my charges. So deployment, I had Wardens back here. The bulk of my army was here, and then I had another Warden unit here. So like literally everyone was here. My redeploys put like Wardens here, on the front line. And then I think my other redeploy was put Trajan right behind them. So my game plan is I want top of turn, number one. The idea here is to advance. So go into Conservi, advance these boys, get them against this wall, put Trajan like right here, and then put 3 bikes here, 3 bikes here with the wardens here. Put the banner right here. These guys are going to chill. I have to see what he does turn 1. These guys are just going to vibe. Because based on his aggression, was going to decide what they do. So he kind of looked around and he kind of went, okay, didn't really give me a lot of shooting, whatnot, whatever. Wait, no, I had bikes back here still. Because, yeah, he shot and killed 1. That's why this is a 2-man. That's what it was. I kept the bikes back here. And I didn't have bikes over here. So I got top of turn. I did all this stuff. Again, I took banners behind enemy lines. And I took bring it down just because it was more points. And it was more reliable scoring. I didn't want to take... Because I think no prisoners he said was... Actually, no, it was really bad because it's only the Terminators. Oh, assassinate. He was trying to really lead me into assassinate. But I didn't want to fight his infantry. I didn't want to fight anything that had the inner circle keyword. I wanted to stay as far away from Terminators and dudes on the ground as humanly possible. I just wanted to kill his shooting and hopefully have 3 bikes remaining, whether it's like a 2-man and the bike captain, a 2-man and a 1-man, or a 1-man bike captain. I just wanted 3 bikes alive. So he comes out, he pokes out a little bit. He gets a speeder like right here-ish. On turn 2. He pops a bike. All he does. Only damage he does in shooting. Between, I think he like shot 4 things at the spike unit and killed that one exactly, and then didn't have line of sight anymore. So it was perfect. He also had to, because of how I deployed the terrain, put a unit of infiltrators right against this wall. This right here won me the game. 1,000,000%. It was a bigger blunder than I think we both realized until I started thinking about the game like the next day and throughout today about thinking about the stream. I honestly didn't realize how big of a mistake this really was. And I'll explain that pretty much now we're top of 2. Reason being is now my philosophy was... I'm staring at the board, and I'm like, I could play this, one more passive KG turn and see what he decides to do. But I thought about what was the outcome backwards. The outcome back to me is now this, 4-man dudes, they come here, and they can just see my bikes all day. And they kill my bikes. So let me clean up my pen markings here and show that a little bit better. So, he could put them all right in this firing line. So, actually, 5 speeders. Because there's currently a speeder dead here. So it would have been this, and this speeder would be here. And they just light up the bikes. And he wouldn't care. And this speeder, where it is now, could also be where it is, shooting into this pocket that I have hiding behind the building. Or even these wardens here, if I stayed passive. So I thought about that, and I'm like, well, I can't do this. I can't give him another turn of shooting. I cannot rely on... bad dice. I cannot rely on me rolling hot and him rolling cold. I've got to force it. I have to give him a saturation of targets. And then I looked at the board and saw the infiltrators. I measured it out because where my bikes were into those guys with the charge was like a 4. And I was like, okay. I measured the warden's charge into the one vehicle that was here. It was a 7. 8, excuse me, it was an 8. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk the 8-up charge. Spend the CP, put those wardens into Solar Watch to get the +1 to charge. And then I went with the game plan. I had an idea, and I didn't want to keep second-guessing myself. So the bikes moved their 14. I think they were right at the edge of the forest here. I think was their 14, maybe a little bit farther back. The wardens get to about here. Now, the other key play here was I know his new game plan. I knew I wasn't going to stop he had Terminators behind this wall. That's where you like see where these guys are right now. That was the brick that was behind right up against the corner. I knew at this point I'm not stopping this charge. It's not happening. I could try being cheeky with Tanglefoot and stick a dude out, and nope, I knew it was coming. So I backed my line up. I backed them all up to here. And I was like, if you're gonna make that, if you're gonna go for the charge, I'm gonna make it as hard as I can for you. But you're not gonna be able to outmodel me. I'm gonna keep my 5 wardens on there. I'm gonna heroic Trajan in, and we're gonna slapbox each other and just let's see what happens. So I did that. I positioned Trajan where he couldn't charge Trajan, but Trajan could very easy heroic. Or I shouldn't say you can't charge Trajan. It would have made the charge go from like a 6 to like a 10 where Trajan was positioned. Or a 6 to a 9, something like that. In shooting, I kill... Because he has 1, 2... I kill this Talon Master during his turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of his 8 vehicles... Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, so I killed only 1. I killed one of the speeders. I think it was like right here. With the salvo launchers here. Because these 2 bikes that were injured, which was another key thing I had to measure as well, with their advance, got right here. So I was like, cool, I hold this objective still. He has no way to steal this with OPSEC. I've got 4 models on there. If he wants to come and steal this from me, he's got to dedicate 4 dudes. Or sorry, 5 dudes. He's got to dedicate 5 dudes. Which, if he wants to put 5 speeders here, when my bikes are over the wall, I'll take that. And the wardens being here, all day, baby. I'll take that all day. Then comes the crucial charge phase. These guys go for the charge. Roll a 10. Beautiful. They roll, like, they honestly, I think, rolled the minimum number. It was like a 5. So they got in there and did what they needed to do. The hilarity of it, though, is he spent, God, it was like 4 CP over here to, like, transhuman and just a whole bunch of stuff. Defend a whole bunch, frontline ranks fighting thing, where only 2 of my 3 bikes got to fight. But I killed only 2 infiltrators, but to me, the damage is done. My bikes are now almost within your deployment zone. You have to answer them. These wardens making this charge was key moment number 2. Reason why it's key moment number 2, because of where they're positioned now. Now I've made this charge, pile and consolidate, I end right here. I am now threatening. He had 4 or 5 other vehicles right here. I'm threatening all of them. So I pop the vehicle, take out 2 infiltrators. I kind of like clench, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Going to the next shooting phase. He is in the tank. He is like he's kind of bamboozled. Like, he's befuddled. He doesn't know what to do. He said it immediately after I passed my turn. He goes, "You're the first person that has never charged my Terminators." And I looked at him and I'm like, I don't want to mistake the obvious here. Why in hell would I charge her? Why would I want to charge those Terminators? They're -1 damage. They're gonna be on 3-up saves because I'm only a -2 weapon against you. I'm only gonna be doing 1 damage a time against you. Like, I don't want anything to do with those guys. Nothing. I want you to come to me. I don't want to go to you. And he's like, that's fair. So he does his moving and his positioning. So this is pretty much what it looked like. Obviously, this is exactly what it looked like at the end of his turn, but he did have a Talon Master right here. And this is where I meant luck was definitely in my side. So key point to them, they also made a 6-inch on their advance. So that was kind of like key point 2.5. What that allowed was my units to be close to him and just really apply pressure on the flanks. Another big part of it too is that I was able to set these guys up to make a charge here, so that way I can have the bikes go be free if I needed to, if they lived. So we go into shooting, and like I said, I prepare for the worst. I'm expecting 3 or 4 wardens to die here. I'm expecting a bike and a half to die here. I'm expecting the bikes to die here. Like, I'm expecting the worst. Shooting happens. As you can see, it takes this guy down to 1, takes this guy down to 1, kills a bike and takes one bike down to 4. That's the shooting phase. That's all the shooting. That's all it did. And now I'm like jumping like a little giddy schoolgirl. I'm like, this is fantastic. Could not have gone better for me. Charge happens. Over here, he was in shambles because he didn't want to charge me. But he's like, I need to get rid of this guy at 1. He's like, I cannot have this guy at 1 survive. He makes the charge. He tries to measure it out to where he gets all of his guys in and Trajan can't heroic. He just can't do it. If he wanted them all to fight me, he had to get within 6 of Trajan, which was my goal. That's why I set it up the way I did. He either needed to roll very, very high, or he needed to not put all 10 guys in. And he rolled what he needed, a 5 on dice, and he rolled a 6. So that means Trajan is getting into combat. There's no way he can avoid it if he wants all 10 guys. He could have avoided it, but he only would have gotten like 4 guys in, 5 guys in. Then with the pilot, I think he would have gotten like 7. But he wanted all 10, and I totally agree with him on that one. You know, get all 10 dudes in there. We talk it out a little more, and I'd say, hey, just remember that I do have the 1 CP strat for interrupting if I'm on an objective marker. So here, those wardens, Trajan. I'm like, so just think of that. You know, make sure you pick the right targets. Make sure you go into the right spot you want to go into. He tanks a little bit again, thinks about it, and he goes, you know what? We're starting with the Terminators. My opinion, I think that was the wrong choice. I just don't think he realized how weak my wardens would have been in combat against him. Granted, I mean, 2s into 4s with all rerolls of 1s because of Trajan is nice. But again, I'm only AP2, 2 damage down to 1 apiece. I need 3 of them to go through, and I need you to roll 1s and 2s to get through. I think this would have been fine. Like, on average, this should just be fine. Because it's like 20 attacks, all 20 hit with the reroll. Then you get, probably 12 through on the wound. On 3-ups, you fail 4. I kill a guy, on average. The Mesocordias might kill the second guy. Like, that's where we're at. I killed maybe 2 Terminators with this interrupt. But I think he saw the eye on the prize, Trajan. Because when he did his pilots and consolidates, he's like, I'm putting, what was it, 1, 2, 3, it was these 5 for sure, and I think he may have done 6. I think he did 6 into Trajan, which I also appreciated, because then it made my CP spendages so much easier, because I just transhuman for 1 CP versus on the Wardens for 2. So I transhuman Trajan, and as you can see, let me get rid of that arrow. Trajan went down to 5. That was it. Trajan made a whole bunch of saves. Trajan made a whole bunch of fuel pains. He did what he needed to do. And then this is the gross part. This is where dice were dice. Where you have to remember sometimes this is a dice game, and the dice gods can be fickle, or they can be your best friend. He wounds the wardens 7 times. I fail 5 of my 4-ups. I go to my feel no pains. Out of my feel no pains, I make 3 6s, 2 6s, 2 6s, 2 6s, 1 6. He kills 1.5 wardens. Like I said, off of 5 failed saves, I should have had maybe 2. Maybe 2. There's a world where I don't have any. Actually, no, I don't think that math is right. I think the math is, like, on average, I should have 2 remaining. So I lose 1.5. I then immediately go spend the 1 CP on the bikes on the other side of the table. And I go, all right, I'm really tired of this Talon Master always hitting me on 2s. We're just going to dump everything into this Talon Master, get him off the table. Bikes do what bikes do. Gets him off the table. He fights back here, does nothing. I fight back here. I think I killed 2 Terminators. Yeah, I think Trajan killed 1, and the Wardens killed 1. There might have been like an extra wound somewhere with Mesocordia or something like that, but I'm confident I killed 2 Terminators, which is, I believe, mathematically speaking, 2 less than I should have, because Trajan was 2s into 4s. Let me see, 2, 3. Then he's on 4 ups. Fails 2. Yeah, I should have killed 3. So one less than average. I mean, that's fine. I will not complain about that at all. This is going according to plan. Top of 3. I bring in, as you can see, my little dudes there. I put these guys in conservi so they can do an action and still shoot. These bikes were the only thing I was unsure what to do about, but these Wardens moved up their 6. These bikes stayed in combat because I was not afraid of this thing at all. The bike captain, who was approximately here, went this direction. And that was my movement. And at this moment, I think him and I both had that realization that the game is over. He's lost the game. And this is what happens when you have 2 pretty competitive players. I don't want to say top level because I don't think I'm, an amazing player. But, like, we got to that moment where after we moved, I'm like, all right, because right away I was like, I'm going to be Rendax. I'm going to pop both modes right away because I'm Emperor's Chosen. Let's get the auto wounding 6s. Let's be +1 strength in melee. Let's just get rid of the Ravenwing this turn. Get him off the table. I don't want him here anymore. And we thought about it, and thought about it, and thought about it. I didn't even catch it at first, but he immediately goes, I lost the game. Good game. And I'm like, come on, man. It's really not that bad. And then I kind of looked at the board, and we talked a little bit more. This guy was at 7. This guy behind here was at 7. This guy here was at 4. So realistically, this turn, these 5 Wardens probably shoot and kill this guy. So he's probably dead. These Wardens charge into both of these. I kill this guy. I let him run away with 2 CP. He can have this Talonmaster. This thing dies in combat. This thing dies in combat. These dies in combat to the bikes. This dies to these bikes shooting at him. We slap box each other again, here and here. Maybe he kills a Warden or 2. I probably kill 2 Terminators again. Trajan might be a little bit lower than he is. But the damage done is done. All he's left for threats after my top of 3 are these Terminators here, and this Talonmaster. That's all he has left. After we talked out what happens top of turn 3. He might have this guy. I don't remember if the bikes had range to this guy. Because there's also a world where... Because this was the only thing that we weren't sure on with measuring. There's a world where I put the bikes where it's an easy charge to go this way or this way. Just in case I do need to shoot at this one. And if I have to shoot at that one with the bikes, then I just charge this guy with the bikes. But, yeah. So to clarify, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. They are dead. All he's got left are 20 Terminators. That's all he's got. And the characters. I'm sorry. And the gaggle of infantry characters that are back here. But after talking about it, and I can show you his side of the board real quick. Because that was the other photo I had. So yeah, this is, from his perspective, this is his side of the table. This is all he'll have left at the end of this turn. And at that point, I've got these 2 bikes. and the bike captain. I have effectively 2 more bikes than I wanted to be able to play the game. What they can start doing now is, even if this starts falling apart, I've got another 5-man Warden unit that just runs over here, starts playing around. I've got this 2-man bike unit. I can give up this objective now at this point. That can go and kill this. I've got these 5 Wardens that could even come in and start tying these guys up, get OPSEC on there, force him to like put more bodies on this objective so he can never go forward. It just becomes this overwhelming just encirclement on his Terminators that we both agreed, you know what, we maybe don't kill each other. You know, we might go until turn 5 until finally a unit dies. But at that point, I'll have 45 for primary. I'll have 15 on banners. I'll max behind enemy lines. I will max bring it down. He will not score, or he'll have ultimate moments for one part of it per turn, which is being within 6 of the center. That'll be it. That's all he gets from oaths. Once Trajan would get low, I would just run him out of there, put him on that back objective, put the spear boys in, wouldn't let him kill Trajan. Same thing with the shield by captain. I would never charge him in. He would just be running around holding objectives for me and shooting at whatever he could. Also having the flexibility of putting something into Solar Watch so I could fall back and charge, fall back and charge, fall back and charge. Super huge. Yeah, it just becomes this point where he can't play the game. He's stuck to getting 0 on primary and everything else. So by the time we ended up talking about it and scored it out, it was going to be 93-60. Yeah, that was pretty much how the Dark Angels game went. So again, massive part of it was luck. Massive part of it was applying the pressure in the right spots. And this is a huge thing that I really can be proud of as a player is I know Custody so well, and I've been able to really control the pace of the games I've played, and that's exactly what happened here. I dictated the pace. Oh, I totally forgot that these two things could have even run around and did stuff. Like it was just such a bad position for him after this turn. I felt bad because it was one of those things where it's like the game was not heavily decided on dice, but the dice definitely made it where it made my life easier. That's for sure. That was the Dark Angels. So we go to day 2, and unfortunately I forgot to take pictures. We're just going to be using the map, unfortunately. And we got Data Scry. And if you've been here before, I utterly hate this mission. Face Black Templars, I was super confident in the matchup. I thought it was going to go very well for me. And then it went really well for me. And I don't want to take anything away from the player. He played it well. But I lost the game. I'll explain when we get to that point. This will be a pretty brief run through because we literally did nothing to each other until turn 3. But terrain deployment, and this is why I said it's like I was very happy with it. He put his big L here. He put a small L. He put like containers here. Small L here. Or no, maybe this was my small L. Yeah, this was my small L. So it was like over here. My big L was like right here. I had containers back here. Small L here. Small L here. Something like this. The reason why I was very happy with this is because he gave me so many free areas to hide. And this is maybe the fact that I don't believe he was very experienced with player place terrain. But like, if I wanted to contest these 2 objective markers, I just had a free line to it. Same thing with this one. Like, he gave me these containers. I just had a free line to it, like to go hopping from terrain to terrain. Like, he just really gave me a lot of beneficial places to go. And being able to use these containers to just block the like semi-decent firing lane we ended up making, because I think he had like an L over here as well. But yeah, it was super awkward place terrain by him. But again, that's could just be because he doesn't play a lot, which I don't believe he did. So turn 1, the way I deployed is pretty much everything was... did I get top of turn again? I did get top of turn, which I wanted. So I basically redeployed everything. So he went super tall. He put like a lot of things in deep strike, and then his entire army right here. And then he had like intercessors here, a land speeder here, and that was it. But otherwise it was like everything in his whole army was right here. Everything. So what I decided to do was pick up this stuff I had over here and bring it this direction. So I had bikes over here, I moved them over here, and I put the wardens over here. I was like, cool, you take your triangle of the map, or a little hexagon, pentagon, I will take mine. I'm completely okay playing this game. I'm cool with it. And again, everything goes according to plan. We go back and forth. He ends up bottlenecking his Vanguard vets in the middle of the table for me to go into, like right here, and everything's just, it's going my way, right? I even took his home objective away from him. I made him not be able to do the mission secondary twice. I gave him a 4 for a turn. And then turn 5 happened. And like I said, it's hard to talk about a lot of things that happened in this game because it went the Custodes way. The baby transhuman from him taking the 5-up invulns was annoying. It definitely helped out the Vanguard vets survive, an extra half of a turn in melee. But it all went my way. His shooting did really well. I'll give him that. His shooting was just like his highlight. They picked up a warden like every time they shot. Melee went my way. I mean, transhuman turning off rerolls, it's really, really hard to deal with when you're playing with, Chapter Master Thunderhammers and Chapter Master Lightning Claws. I just make that completely irrelevant against my army. There was one moment that I was a little sad about that I wish he would have informed me on, because I was trying to be as crystal clear as I could, because he told me that he hasn't faced Custodes in like 2 years. But his sergeant that had the relic shield that ignored AP 1 and 2, he never told me it was 3 wounds. And so like things went away, and it's like, it was one of those things where I wish I would have known it, because I would have started with the Mesocordias versus the Axes. And it's neither here nor there, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I wish I would have known that before I did the attacks. So that way it's like, if you fail the 1 there, it helps me out so much more. Because now he can't take 2 dice at a time with the axes. He has to go 1 at a time, but it's fine. That was the only thing I told him. Like, I was like, I wish I would have known beforehand. And then there was like a clarification error when he had his chaplain on bike. Because he said, I'm going to go for the reroll hit aura, or the reroll aura. And I went, okay. He rolled it, did it. And then he moved it up and was like, all right, charging. Everybody gets +2 to charge. And I'm like, wait, you said reroll hits. Is it reroll hits or is it charge? And he's like, oh, he's like, I didn't say reroll hits. And I'm like, you definitely said reroll hits. I'm like, because I even said out loud, interesting. Like, you looked at me and gave me, like, you looked at me and I said, interesting, you went there. And then you said, yeah, and moved. So I'm like, you definitely said reroll hits. And that's the beauty of tokens, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself tokens. Get gubbins. Because if you would have said reroll aura and then you put down your charge aura, I would have been like, hey, you said reroll aura. Did you mean charge aura? And we could have clarified it before we got to that point. Because I explained to him, I'm like, if I would have realized that you meant that aura and not the other aura, I would have pulled my wardens differently, so you wouldn't have been able to charge them as easy. I was relying on Tangle for Grenade. And he goes, oh. And I was like, yeah. So it's like, that's the problem, is that we're at a point now where it's like, I would have done more things. Like, I wouldn't have used the defensive strats on the wardens. I kind of would have just let them die. So then, like, all his characters are just, like, floating here, doing nothing. But yeah. That was it. So that was like kind of like the 2 big moments that we kind of like. Again, just get tokens, please. Play with tokens. Makes everybody's life easier. Whether you do like printable proxy cards like I do, just do something. Get yourself some tokens. Makes everybody's lives easier. But regardless, this goes the way again. I get back here, but then here comes bottom turn 5, the math problem. DQ bedroom tundra. I did math wrong. So when I did the math, I knew that he was going to score 9 points at the end of the game. I did all the math, and I was like, okay, cool. If I stop this Brutalis from taking my home objective, I win by like 8. even if I don't stop him from taking this home objective, I win by 2. Right? That's my math. I'm like, cool. I will win no matter what, because he can only get up to 76 points. The game is mine, so I'm going to be like somewhat greedy and try to block off this Brutalis. I'm going to charge into it. I'm going to survive, and I'm going to guarantee that I can get even more points. Ladies and gentlemen, I was very wrong. He killed my dudes. He touched this objective marker. I did the math wrong, and I lost by 1. The kick in the teeth there is if I stay on the home objective and I do the mission secondary, I score 3 points. His scoring doesn't change if I stay there or not. I win by 2 no matter what happens. No matter what happens. Nothing else matters. None of it. I win by 2. People are trying to cheer me up to let me know, like, hey, at least you realize that, like, you lost the game, you weren't outplayed, yada yada yada. No, this was a very hard loss for me to take. Because it wasn't like if he found a line that I missed, then it's like, oh yeah, dude, like awesome, like good job finding that line. This was me just not doing basic math. I didn't. I thought I did the math right. I thought I had it. But again, I don't want to take anything away from him. I feel like he played most things right. There's a couple of, like I said, I would have done the terrain a little bit differently from his perspective. I think he let me play my game, which I don't think he should have let me do. I think because I was measuring him like devout pushing during my fight phase and like really getting the Vanguard vets in. Like turn 2 or 3, because he had 1 unit down and 1 in deep strike. But I was anticipating that like they were going to like devout push turn 1, move their 12, and then like charge into my bikes and Trajan that I had lined up like around here. And that play is actually really strong. I actually really liked that play. Reason being is because it's like you can give them the Chapter Master, you can give them the Mortals on 6s, you can soup them up, and you just charge them straight into the bikes and let Trajan heroic into you. And you just kill the bikes. Or you force me to spend 2 CP to use the bikes. But because of that, I was able to threaten his backline on that turn. Versus, like I said, if he just devoured push, moved those guys 12 and charged, like, this was a really solid play. I liked going for this play, but he didn't. And that happened twice throughout the game. There was 2 moments where I was just really anticipating him to devout push into me with the Vanguard vet unit and then just charged. That was one thing I think he should have abused more, is having the devout push. Just really pressing into me with those units and forcing me to have to play to his game versus the other way around. Because the only thing I was relying on at that point was Tango for Grenade. But yeah, it was GG's to him. I think he should have played a little bit more aggressive. Because I think if he would have played aggressive, he just beats me. I don't think there's ever a chance I have to win. Because then it's like these Wardens got to come in, and then like the Brutalises and everything else can just like come from strategic reserves over here, like, and just shoot into them. Yeah, I feel like this play on turn 3, 2, whatever it was, would have been so much more punishing to me if it went off. So, and then the last round. Faced a gentleman from Illinois on Abandoned Sanctuaries, and he was playing Blood Angels. So, Custodians versus Blood Angels. Terrain for me was it was like L here, containers here, big L here. Like another L, like over here, forest over here, something like that. Yeah, close to this. This was just a game of Sanguinary Guard or just they're Sanguinary Guard now. They're not like Terminators anymore. They're just Sanguinary Guard. So I got top of turn again. I did the good old, tried and true. I advanced this unit into the forest. I advanced this unit. Oh no, he got top of turn. Excuse me. He did get top of turn. Yeah, I had wardens here. I moved them onto this objective marker. I moved bikes out so I could shoot the speeder that was here. Bikes out so I could shoot the speeder here. Killed them both. He came out with everything except for one Sanguinary Guard unit. And he had a Death Company and Deep Strike. Came out, charged everything. Everything bounced. I killed Dante. Dante fought me back, killed nothing. Bikes took Death Company down to 2 models. And then it was the very classic moment of, well, we're both melee armies, and the first person to take initiative bounced. So, Trajan clapped back. So you got the Wardens over here down to 1. Trajan over here down to 4, I think. And the 1 Warden and Trajan killed the Sanguinary Guard. Like I said, 2s into 2s is very good. Very good. So then from there, it was like, I know I was going to control this for the rest of the game. Wardens came to help free up the bikes. These bikes went and charged over here to clean up the Death Company that were in combat. And then from there, he just had no resources. At that point, losing all the Death Company units except for the one in Deep Strike, losing a Sanguinary Guard unit. All he had left is one more Sanguinary Guard unit and characters. They charged, they bounced, they died. Very uneventful. It was very heartbreaking. It was it was one of those games where, again, I felt bad. Because, both of our dice were fine. It wasn't like a weird dice game. It was just Sanguinary Guard are just not Terminators anymore. They're just not. They're toughness 4, 2 up save, -1 to hit, and that's it. I only scored an 80 because my secondaries were probably a poor choice. And I also didn't realize he had 2 freaking infiltrators or incursors, whatever ones have the 12-inch bubble nonsense. So behind enemy lines only got me 7 points. I didn't want to take banners because I assumed that we were going to be fighting and trading in the middle, so I didn't want to risk losing banners left and right. So I took no prisoners because he gave up a 10 on that. Yeah, I took no prisoners. I took behind enemy lines, and I think I took grind. What was my third secondary? Auric Mortalis, because his Eradicators was highest cost unit. So he got him in my deployment zone because of strategic reserves. You got him over here. So I got 10 points for killing them and killing them in melee. And that's what ended up, hilariously enough, if the Black Templar player lost, I still could have gotten first, which is kind of funny because of how small the event was. But he ended up winning, so he got first. So obviously, again, congratulations to him. I said this match, round 2 and round 4, felt really bad. And I kind of felt the demoralization of my Space Marine opponents. It doesn't feel good when you YOLO the army and then it just dies. But I think James and I both were on the same page, though, when we were getting ready to play, that neither one of us really wanted to play, but we both wanted to score very high. So I think that was the point of us doing what we did, and we just kind of met in the middle, because we knew that whoever won that outcome was just going to score a lot of points, and that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So that was the last 2 rounds. I know it's not as exciting about the Dark Angels game, but I know the Dark Angels game is a lot more intense. It was a lot more like, not razor edge, but like a lot more strategy was involved with it. My thinking, my thought process was a lot different. The Black Templar matchup was just, I knew it was Space Marines. It's 2s into 2s, baby. 2s into 2s. I knew that was the game plan. Be more durable, survive, and I guess next time, bring a calculator. So yeah, here is the placings. So the Gabriel Owens Black Templar guy. You would have had a really good time. You probably would have gotten 400. I think the only person you may have struggled against would have been maybe Hugh with his demons. Maybe. My list being moderately different than we last played. I mean, it kind of would have been in the same situation we were last time when we finally run into each other. I need to do a lot of damage. Mansoor didn't play. He was not there. None of the Tundra guys were there, except for... Oh, well, Hugh forgot to put Tundra, but Hugh. But yeah, so I ended with the 339, 3-1. He went 4-0. Like I said, there's a potential where if the Iron Hands player actually beats him, that I can get first. But unfortunately, that's not the way it went. No, it's probably very similar to his list, though. So if that is what's very close to what Matt's running, I just gotta hope that dice are in my favor if I have to face Matt. No, I think that gentleman got like 6th or 7th. Yep, yeah. So this was top 3. I really wish I could have taken back that round 3. I really do, but it is what it is. Like I said, next time, just take a deep breath and really count the points, really lock it in. But it felt good. It felt good to be back on Custodes. It felt good to finally be in a tournament for the first time in the season. Definitely felt tournament fatigue, so that's the next thing I need to work on. I was so dead day 2. I was so tired going against James. If I wasn't in contention for getting first place, I was like ready to give him the 70 and just go home. I was so tired. So that's, I think, like the next thing I really got to work on is fatigue. I need to start getting in days where I can actually get to, Warpstorm at like 9 o'clock in the morning and just play until midnight. Find a day where I can do that. Get those long day reps in. Yeah, so yeah, 3-1 finish, 339 points out of a possible 400. With how shitty Custody secondaries are, dropping only 61 points, I really can't complain. Pretty much being a book army, basic secondary army, I'm very happy scoring 339. April 15th, 14th, whatever it is, I'm still on the fence if I'm going to be going to either Pastimes or the Warpstorm. At this point right now, I'm probably going to stick with just going to Warpstorm. Though I think I'd probably have better results at Pastimes. I'm thinking about running back Custodes. Might be this list. I might play something else. I'm not entirely sure yet. I know for a very long time I joked that I'm going to bring Tal one day and just kind of, see how that goes. But yeah, it's a weird spot when it comes to competitive right now because 10th is literally right on the corner. I just like the maps of Pastimes. Dude, those WTC maps look fucking juicy. Juicy. That's more what I meant, is I feel like I could find a lot of success because I could take a lot of Custody basic secondaries. So, yeah, those maps just look really, really easy for melee armies to kind of get in there. Granted, I feel like those maps are also very good for Dark Angels. Like, if you're doing the mix spam between Terminators and Ravenwing, I feel like those tables those tables are going to be your best friends if you're playing Dark Angels. I I hope you don't plan on taking your Big Chungus list. I think you're going to absolutely hate it if you take it on that WTC terrain. Yep, that's exactly what I thought you were going to do. I was saying, like, there's no way you're taking Big Chungus on that terrain. There's no way. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to stick with Warpstorm. If I had somebody else to drive down there with, I'd do it. I just don't want to take, like, the hour drive there and back early in the morning and late at night by myself both times. So... yeah, it might be Custodes. I was thinking maybe Harlequins, but I think there's the 5-ups. I don't want to rely on 5-ups. I can barely rely on 4-ups. Sisters, I'm tuckered out on. I have no passion to play them anymore. I was half tempted to just kind of... Again, I'm half tempted to take Tau. I'm half tempted because I know one of the guys locally isn't coming. I'm half tempted to take guard. I don't know. I do not know. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I know I got up to a couple viewers at a time. I really appreciate all you guys coming in. But that's that. Thanks for stopping by. And now with, jumping into tournaments, these are probably going to be a more regular thing. I do want to try finding some type of like weekly concept podcast thing to do where setting it up with somebody and we just talk 40K, like comp 40K for a while. And we just, do this for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Just talk comp 40K, look at lists from like Meta Monday, look at some crazy stuff that's going on, try deciphering lists and see why they're doing so well and stuff like that. Especially with 10th edition right around the corner too. I feel like having those conversations as well. Talking about things that are currently spoiled in teaser season, and stuff like that. So again, I greatly appreciate everybody stopping in, watching by. Feel free to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm obviously not going to be a sellout clout kind of person. Like, please subscribe, and if you want to do it, do it. We're all adults here. It's a button. Yeah, that's the game plan. Like I said, expect me back in approximately 2 weeks. Look at the calendar. Yeah, 2 weeks after that weekend for that RTT to at least break that one down. I might even be really spicy and just do something completely weird with Custodes. But who knows? But yeah, again, thanks you guys. You guys all have a great night. And see ya.